Hey friends, how's it going? Ash here. Welcome back to Gents. Hope that you're doing well. Today we're taking a look at the third and final new release in the Haramain Detour line. I guess that's what it's called now, Detour, since there's Detour Noir and now Detour Eco. Like I said, this is the third and final because I've done two videos on the other fragrances that came out in this line here recently, which are this one, Detour Noir Exclusive, and this one, Detour Noir Intense. So like I said, it's the Detour line now, random. I guess this one's kind of the black sheep of the family because there's the original Detour Noir, which is a Haltane clone. Then there's Noir Exclusive, which is a Haltane exclusive clone. And then Noir Intense, which is a Pegasus exclusive clone. And then they dropped the Noir for this one and just called it Detour Eco. Why Eco? I don't know. I guess they felt like because the bottle was green that eco made sense. It's like when you put your car in eco mode to save fuel and to save the environment. But yeah, this is Haltane exclusive, this is Pegasus exclusive, both of these really well done. What could this one be? Well, that's what we're gonna talk about today. I bought that one from FragranceBuy.ca, link is in the description. Also, you can find it at fragflex.com. If you shop there, use the code GS11 for 11% off your order. That's good site-wide. It's about $5 more than Detour Noir, at least at Fragrance Buy. So it's gonna place it just a little tick over $30 US, right at like $31.50 roundabout. Let's get it kicked off by taking a look at the presentation. So here you have the front of the box. It looks the same as the back of the box. You have the name of the house, name of the fragrance right there on the front, size and concentration. It's an eau de parfum, 100 ml size. You have all Haramain up on top of the box. On the side, you have Detour, and on the back, your ingredient info and your badge code. And here we have the bottle, your typical Detour style of bottle. Has a nice matte finish to it, green with gold accents. It does rub a little bit on the very front of the bottle right here. So when you pull it out of the box, it's probably gonna have a little wear spot right there. All of the bottles have that. On the bottom, it says all Haramain, little green on top right there, and the cap clicks pretty snugly into place. All right, let's go ahead and share a couple sprays here. Here we go. Really nice pressurized atomizer on this one. And that's another funny thing with at least the bottles that I got in from this new launch, this new line. This one also has a pressurized atomizer. So these both really nice pressurized atomizers. This one, for whatever reason, just has that. At least for my bottles, they were like, nice pressurized atomizer. Nice pressurized atomizer. What's that crap that we got that we haven't used yet? We got like a bunch of pallets of those atomizers, right? You put those in this one. What? Do the pressurized on all three? No. Give this one the turdy ones. Yeah. Still though, 2 out of 3 ain't bad, as they say. So what could that possibly be a clone of, and is it any good? Because as I said in the reviews of this one and this one, these are really well done. So if that is also really well done, then that means all Haramain is 4 out of 4 and they're Detour clones. So what is this a clone of? Well, it is no surprise that it is a clone of this. They did not try to hide this one whatsoever. And this is a clone of Parfums de Marly Haltane, which was originally a Harrods exclusive, and it is one of the more popular men's releases from Parfums de Marly. And this one has been kind of compared to Initio's Oud for Greatness to an extent, that it's like a more masculine take on Oud for Greatness. That's a pretty simple description for this one, but it works. Ooh. So what are the differences? What are the similarities between these two? Well, like in the other two Detour Noir releases that came out at the same time as this one, there are differences. It's not the exact same as the PDM. Also, like the other two releases, Noir Exclusive and Noir Intense, the biggest difference is in the opening. When you first spray these on, if you do it side by side, you'll notice that the PDM has more of an animalic tinge to it. The oud comes across much more clearly in the PDM. And that makes total sense. If you were going to look at the note breakdown of this fragrance and pick out one note that you think that the cheaper version of the fragrance is probably not gonna be able to quite nail, it would be the oud. So when you first spray on Haltane, you get that little animalic touch from that oudy woodiness that comes through. It's a little bit dark, has a bit of an edge, but it's not unwearable. It's not something that's gonna make people run and scream. It doesn't have too much of a barnyardy aspect to it. You know, just a little bit to keep you honest. There's a little something there, a little animalic touch, like I said, but it's not full on poop mode. Now I know that doesn't sound great, but if you know, you know. Oud sometimes can have a wang to it. And this one has a little teeny tiny touch of that in the opening, whereas Detour Eco does not. Detour Eco instead has more citrus off the top, and it's a sweeter citrus. So you get that initially, and it makes them smell quite different off the top. Now you can tell this is inspired by this even off the top, but they are doing two separate things initially. This one is fresher, this one is sweeter, more citrus, more lavender, and then that saffron kind of aspect coming out initially here, whereas this one starts off with some of that saffron sweetness in the same vein as Oud for Greatness, but more dark woods, more of that oud, that little touch of funk. And yet, as this dries down, the same thing happens that happens with these. This starts to get a lot closer to that, and then once it hits the dry down, this pretty much just smells like the PDM. Which is an interesting transition because the Parfums de Marly starts out with that woodiness. And yeah, it has, you know, some of the sweetness from saffron, from praline, and then as it dries down, that sweetness kind of ebbs and flows and eventually, you know, fades away into that deep, rich, woody base that this has. And it makes sense because it starts out heavy and bold and rich and strong and powerful. So when it hits those woods in the base, you're like, yeah, it's flowed masterfully, it makes sense. With Detour Eco, it starts off fresh, sweet, and a little sugary, just a touch. So you don't really expect those woods to come out as much because when you're smelling it initially, you're like, yeah, it doesn't have the depth, it doesn't have the body that this one has. So when you first smell that, you know, just first impressions, you'll probably think, it's probably gonna be the worst out of the three new ones, huh? Yeah, you can't really anticipate that woodiness coming out and matching this when you first smell this. But as it heads through the mid and those woods start to come out more, you're like, oh, that's getting really close now. And by the time you hit the dry down, side by side even, you can go back and forth and you're like, oh, that's about it, yep. So the opening, quite different. Very easy to tell which is which. You could spray them on blindly, tester strips, on my hand, whatever, and I'll go, okay, that's this, pretty simple. But once you hit the dry down, it becomes way, way more difficult to tell which is which. And the quality, once again, really good for a fragrance that you could say is launching at about 30 bucks. Because realistically with, you know, fragrances like Haramain, Armaf, Lattafa, et cetera, they don't really have like an MSRP as far as anybody is concerned that's gonna be buying these, right? And I think we can agree on that somebody could throw up an MSRP on this on a website and say 120 MSRP, and all of us collectively are gonna be like, right, 120. Because really, it's a $30 fragrance. Like that's what this is launching at, 31, 32, whatever. So when you consider what this costs versus what this costs, once you hit that dry down, it will blow your mind, like how good they can get these to smell. So if you're looking for an alternative to this one, this is an absolutely fantastic choice as long as you go into it knowing the opening is not gonna be it. The opening of this is not this, it's just not. And the one thing that is really missing here as compared to this is that oud. Yes, the woodiness comes out as this dries down. Yes, it's got a little bit of a dark touch, you know, that little faint hint of like smokiness, but it's not the exact same because it does lack that bit of edge that this one has. And that could break it for some people because the first, you know, I'd say 30 minutes probably, this is not really that close. It starts to get a lot closer though past that point. And I would say of the 3 new ones, this is the one that in the opening, even though they all have like a different little twist, this is the one that smells the least like the PDM off the top. So keep that in mind also. Like I said, the mid and down, really well done. The opening, then it's Parfums de Marly Haltane with the twist. To be fair though, some people are gonna actually prefer the opening of this to this because it is a more standard opening. I don't mean that in a negative way. It's just, it's an easygoing sweet citrus with a little lavender in there. You know, that's pretty easygoing. Whereas this one has a little kick to it. And so maybe your average person smells this and they go, oh, that's a better opening in my opinion. But a lot of people who prefer this one, that boldness, may be disappointed in the opening. So it's really dependent on your own taste, what you're looking for, I guess. Performance, before we wrap up. This one, very good. This is a great performing fragrance, huge projection, awesome longevity. Gonna be more of a fall and winter time fragrance, more of an evening scent as well. This one also has very good performance. It's not as strong as the PDM, which you probably would expect because of you know, that lack of oudiness and that lack off the top of depth in comparison to this one. But this still has very good performance, above average for me. Really solid longevity, great projection, so no issues there. And it doesn't hurt that it has that sweet atomizer. So you can get a lot of distribution really easily. And seasonality wise, it's the same. I know the opening here is fresher. The opening here is a little sweeter with that citrus, lavender, that bit of saffron coming through in a slightly sugary way, but this is still not a summertime fragrance. So you would use this when you would use that. That's how it always goes with clones, isn't it? So there we go. That is Detour Eco. I can comfortably say all 3 of these new Detours were worth the wait. All 3 of these really well done. An interesting thing though, no warm weather Detours. I guess that could be in the cards since they made this one, which is not a noir. It's an eco, but you would think that maybe they hit you with like a Sedley or a Percival or something like that. There we go, guys. Thank you for hanging with me. Stay safe out there. I'll see you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you later.